now that we have gone over the Embrace back, we're going to move on to the Embrace cushion. The Embrace cushion is a cushion that's made out of foams that we have never used before. There are 3 different codes for this cushion that we can use. We have an E2607 and an E2608 code, which is the positioning skin protection code, and we also have an E2624 code, and that would be the adjustable medium skin protection positioning cushion. What makes it an E2624 code is actually the moldable insert that we'll go over in just a little bit. To kind of backtrack, to go over the foams that we have never used before, one of the things that you notice about this cushion is that we have there's a lot of geometry to it. There's a pretty big abductor and there's a pretty big adductor. And if you actually look at the seat well is in a shape that from a Comfort Company product and different cushions that we have not used before. So the better way to see that is I'm going to take the cover off. The cover is made in we can get the cover in 2 different types. We can get it in the Stretch Air or the Comfort Tech material, which we see here. The Comfort Tech material is the water resistant, incontinent proof cover that we offer with the Venom fabric on the sides. The cover will come with a pouch and a handle for ease of removal, so every single one, and it'll have a non-skid fabric on the bottom with the Velcro patches for attaching. So let me take the cover off now that we talked about that a little bit and go over the new geometry of the cushion. So when you first look at it, it looks like a very aggressive positioning cushion. But like I said, with the new foams we have, it's very cushy, it's very comfortable. And I'll go over some of the features of the geometry of the cushion in a little bit when I have my assistant come and help me out. So when sitting on the cushion, and I'm going to take this moldable insert out. When sitting on the cushion, the goal of this was to reduce pressure on the ITs. So proper positioning with this cushion, your ITs are going to be sitting in the seat well right here. When you do that, you're going to have a greater trochanter on each side of the adductors. In unison with the anti-thrust shelf, we're going to be able to distribute pressure onto the femurs. We're going to reduce it on the ITs, and we're going to pick it up on the trochanters. The easiest way to show this is actually with use of a pressure mapper. So I'm going to get the pressure mapper here, and I'm going to use my associate David Kramer and use his butt as a demonstration. So as we put the pressure mapper on, we'll be able to see exactly where we are reducing pressure. 1 second. Let me get this recording. Here we go. Go ahead. So what we see here, once we get positioned the crinkles out of the mapper, there we go. What we see here is a great pressure distribution. We have really little to no peak pressure where the ITs are. We distribute pressure all the way over to the seating area where his trochanters are. And if you actually see, right in here would be where his trochanters would be, where we see actually the pressure, where those adductors are picking it up. We have great transition lines going down through his femurs. And actually, if we had a little bit different seat to floor height, we could even get this pressure higher on the femurs, where it would actually have a better transition. So as you can see from the pressure mapper, we have the seat well, we have the anti-thrust, which is right here, and then we have the greater trochanters right here, which are being picked up. So as a cushion with foams and proper geometry as we have done a very good job of equalizing the amount of pressure over the greatest area that we can. Now, one of the things about this cushion that is absolutely great is its ability to reduce pressure even with an asymmetry. For what we'll do actually is we're going to give David an obliquity. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the moldable insert. This moldable insert is the E2624 code for this cushion. This is what makes it an E2624. It's going to be the adjustable medium skin protection positioning cushion. And there's a couple things that we can do. First we'll start out and we'll actually give David an obliquity on his left side. Just by taking these aluminum fingers, we can bend them relatively easily. If you notice, I mean, it's not taking much of anything for me at all. And we are going to build up underneath the cushion one side. So if you see here, we have given about a 2-inch height where David's ITs are going to sit right down in here. His trochanter is going to be up over here, and we're going to give David a left pelvic obliquity, where the left ASIS is going to be higher than the right ASIS. So David, let's pop up. We're going to put this down on the solid C-pan. It works best with a solid C-pan. You can get results with a sling seat, but a solid C-pan really does a good job of positioning. So if you notice, even as I push down, how much higher this shelf is than this shelf. So, put the pressure mapper back on. Have David sit back down. So now, what we have, if you can actually see David, his left ASIS is higher than the right ASIS. So basically right here we have these bony prominences right here and right here. So if you notice, even from my hands, we have a pelvic obliquity on his left side. The left side is higher than the right side. And what that's doing for David is actually giving him a slight scoliosis. And if you look around from the back of the cushion here, we can see what we have done. I can put my hand completely underneath where his trochanter is. We have offloaded his coccyx, and his IT is sitting right down in here. Now, this is one of the unique things about this cushion, is that you would expect that we would have increased pressure on one IT or the other. But if you look at the pressure mapper, we've actually increased the amount of square inches of which we're decreasing pressure, and we have no peak pressure in this IT, we have no peak pressure in this IT, and we've actually created more pressure over the greater trochanter, which we have little to no risk of skin breakdown over here. Now that we've done this side, one point about this cushion that I want to point out is if we have David lean to this side, lean even further, reach, hold it right about there. Now granted, with a pair who has someone with little to no trunk control, this would be very hard to do. We did get peak pressure over on this side, but he's leaning all of his weight down on this side. What we've done now is we've actually flattened out that molded insert. So we're allowing him to come this way. If you actually notice, I can get my hand under there still, but just barely. We've flattened out that side, and as he comes back, you can see that now we have that. So we have actually allowed that cushion to come over, and when it comes back over, and when he comes back to neutral, it's like there's a set of therapist hands back there. Because of the dynamic and spring that's in that molded insert, it's like there's a therapist's hands there that's actually just a gentle reminder, come back over here. So if you have someone who your positioning with an obliquity, they still can get back down to one side, because as we all know, dynamic is better than static. Everything that we know before was that for someone with an obliquity, we take foam away from over here, or we add over here, we pump up air over here, we let air out over here, we add cells here, or we're always jamming up something underneath the IT, or we are taking away from another IT. So being able to support the IT and still allow movement. The human body is made to move. By allowing that movement and just that gentle reminder to come back, we can support that obliquity, and then we can just have that gentle reminder to come back, and we have created a dynamic solution to a cushion to allow movement, but just have that reminder for positioning. So, reducing the pressure, there's also something that we can do. We have created the obliquity on the other side. Now we're going to create another obliquity on this side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to match both sides together. Now what you see is we have matched both sides. We'll just add one more over here. With each one of these cushions, there's going to be a tool that's going to come along with it. This is a little bender. If someone doesn't have the strength in their hands or whatever to bend this little tool is going to be along, so you can actually bend it and get that little last support. I'm going to bend the outside of these, because what we're going to do is when you bend the outside is you give that lateral support on the very outside. So each one of these, I'm just going to put a quick little reverse bend in. Kind of shows you how easy this is with the tool. And once we do this, I'm going to show you exactly what we're doing. Okay, we got that, just that little extra bend on the other side. Now what we've done is we have, in theory, and we'll prove this with the pressure mapper in a second, we have reduced the pressure on the ITs. Trochanter 1 and trochanter 2, we're going to pick up on those trochanters and we're going to create a stability that's also dynamic. That's going to give. They're going to allow it to have a little bit of movement. So if they lean from one side to the next, patient leans from one side to the next, you're going to come over, you're going to flatten these out, and you're going to come back. There's just going to be that gentle reminder to come back. So we are going to put this down, the cushion on top. And before we put David in, you can see the amount of trochanter pickup that we're going to get when those ITs go into here, how much of a well we've just actually created. David, sit back down. And we are going to record. And you would expect to see greater pressure all the way around, which is exactly what we're seeing. We're increasing the amount of pressure in the transitions again. And if you actually see the amount of yellow right here, as compared to what we had before. What we had before over here was a lot more pressure in our ITs. You see all the different, the higher, or the concentration of the yellow as composed with the green. If we go over here, we've created just more green. A little bit of yellow here, a little bit of yellow here, and we've increased pressure on the trochanters. So what we've done here is basically taken the pelvis, supported it on the outside, floated the ITs as much as we can. So we have a cushion now that we've done a great job of equalizing pressure over the greatest area that we can without taking any stability away. So if you actually come around from the back side here, you can see, again, I can put my hand all the way up underneath this greater trochanter. I can put my hand all the way up underneath this greater trochanter. We have added stability. We've offloaded the coccyx. I can get my hand up underneath there. And now, with the adductors and the abductors and the cushion, we can have David lean this way and see how far he can lean before he actually loses it. The adductors, have him lean the other way, the adductors are supporting him and they're allowing him to gain the pelvic stability on each side. And reducing the pressure on the ITs. That's our ultimate goal when we do something like this. Now, when talking about paras, when you have a paraplegic in a chair, pelvic stability is very important. In order to prevent them from going in a posterior tilt, we want to give pelvic positioning in the posterior area right by the PSIS so that we will create all the facet joints in the spine so that they can lock into place and they can have greater function. When someone goes in the posterior tilt, it's a lot easier to fall from one side to the next because the spine is easy to move. When you put someone in a posterior tilt or an anterior tilt and get them in a neutral position, all the little facet joints in the spine will actually stack up and they'll lock into place. And then it's a lot harder when the pelvis is not moving to move around. So I'm going to have David stand up, and I am going to take the aluminum panel and I'm going to bend these back flat. And I wanted to do it this way to kind of show you about how easy and how many times you can actually remold this thing. So I'm going to bend them flat. And then I'm going to take my tool and I'm going to put in just a little angle to these. And what we're going to do when we do this is we're going to pick up the pelvis on the posterior side of the pelvis where all the flat parts are, where there's no bony prominences. And we are going to create a anterior tilt, not an anterior tilt, but we're going to prevent the pelvis from going into a posterior tilt here, and we're going to keep the ASIS and the PSIS on a level plane. You can do this with your hands as well. I just kind of wanted to show you how easy it is to use the little tool that comes with it. So right now, with just that little bit of a bend, we can take this, put it underneath that cushion. Cushion on top. Yeah, David, sit down. So now what we have is we have, again, increased the amount of pressure back here. And we are still low pressure on our ITs. We still have low pressure on our greater trochanters. And by doing that, what we've done is we've actually increased the amount of square inches that we are distributing pressure over. So we're reducing pressure on the ITs, increasing on the greater trochanters and across the iliac crest of the pelvis. So by doing this, what we've done is we take David, and we have ASIS and the PSIS. And what we have done is we've actually created a anterior tilt, and we've prevented him from going into a posterior tilt of where he was sitting. And if you notice how he was sitting before, it's very prevalent to me that we have now created basically a lumbar gap in here where he's sitting up straight, his shoulders are coming back, all by just moving or molding that moldable insert to prevent him from going into a posterior tilt. So I have pre-molded a couple of aluminum stays. With use of the embrace back, we can have him move forward. We can insert the aluminum stays into the embrace back. You can kind of see exactly where that lumbar roll is. Have David sit back. Now we have, you can see exactly from back here, we have supported his lumbar area now. We have prevented him from coming into a posterior tilt. We have distributed pressure in the cushion as much as we possibly can. We have offloaded the ITs. We have increased pressure on the greater trochanters by lifting them up on the both sides. We have given him stability in the pelvis both laterally and posteriorly. With the use of a good lap belt now, we have positioned David as a para as well as we can. Now, as a para, transfers become very important. With this cushion, one of the things that you'll run into is people will say that it's got a lot of geometry. When they transfer, they come forward, they're going to have a lot of geometry that they're going to have to go over. When I have David transfer forward on top of the anti-thrust and the abductor, get the biggest naysayer that you have in the group, put them on the cushion and have them do this. You will prove to them that that abductor will completely meld away. So David, if you pop forward on the cushion. Now, when David pops forward, it's really hard to see, but David, do you feel an abductor there?
I do not.
The abductor completely melds away. The foams that we have used have compressed enough where it just basically becomes a flat cushion. There is enough contour and geometry, it becomes a great positioning cushion, but it compresses so that for paras, they can transfer up on top of it, it'll come away. That is the Embrace cushion, and that's what it does phenomenally.